This is Jennifer Hale, and you're listening to the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. And, I should go.
The tangents as we continue all the way to episode 476 of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. The amusing thing about this is, it's all a big mistake. That particular Starfighter game was supposed to be delivered to Vegas, not some flea speck trailer park in the middle of tumbleweeds and tarantulas. So it must be fate, destiny, by chance, luck even, that brings us together. And as the poet said, the rest is history. I told you, I want to save it for a surprise. Hey, you're the kind of kid who reads the last page of a mystery first, pesters the magician to tell you his tricks, who sneaks downstairs to peek at his Christmas presents. No, of course you're not. That's why I'm not going to tell you. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Fiveish Fangirls podcast. So glad you joined us. Let's start off like we do with the virtual table and see who's joined us this week.
This is Brittany Bengal.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Greetings and salutations. Alrighty. Well, hopefully everyone is doing well in their neck of the woods. I know that the South and East Coast are having a hard go of it. Hopefully all of our
down the hatches yet again.
friends, family, acquaintances are all right. So I have family in North Carolina that most of them came out okay, at least with Helene. Of course, everybody's bracing for round 2 at this point.
Yeah. I've got relatives who live in Florida. I can't remember exactly which areas, but it's still nerve-wracking as all get out.
Yeah, so just everyone be smart and do what you can.
You know it's bad when Disney has plans for getting
to close.
Yeah,
because Disney has the fortune of being smack dab in the center of Florida, so usually by the time stuff makes landfall and gets that far in, it's down to a trickle.
Exactly. Yeah,
or at least not something too terribly strong, but
right.
Nope, not right now. So
yeah, because I think this is the first time in a long time that they've done this.
No, actually, they did in the last few years.
Oh, they have. Okay, I couldn't remember how.
I think it was last hurricane season. They closed for. I mean, when I say Disney closed, I mean like the theme parks closed. But if you're staying at the hotel,
right,
the guests tend to stay, and they try to make your hotel stay as comfortable as possible, making sure you still get access to food and that sort of thing.
All that, yeah.
So when we say Disney is closed, we're not like Disney is closed. So it's not very often that Disney gets to that point of closed.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, just be careful, everyone. Not a whole lot in the way of news, but we got this. I don't know how many people seen it, but coming up November 1st on Disney Plus, we are getting a documentary about John Williams. Which part of me is kind of like, finally, why haven't we done this already?
About time,
Yes.
And at least let's interview him so we can get some of this on record instead of getting it secondhand. Let's get it straight from horse's mouth.
Yeah, but it's got everybody. I mean, it's got John Williams himself, it's got George, it's got Ron, it's got Steven. You don't know who I'm talking about. You've never seen anything in your entire life,
right?
And probably don't know who John Williams is. So I think it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and I look forward to seeing it when it drops on November 1st on the Disney Plus. So, and as we mentioned last week, now we are firmly in a new month. So that means book club updates.
Yes, so this month's book is The Shadows of Avalon, and then November's poll choices are up, and they are Dark Guys Volume 2, which is audio, Trading Futures, which is a novel, Extraction Point, which is a novel, and then The Adventures of Charlotte Pollard Volume 1, which is a audio.
Mm-hmm. So that's exciting. All right, move on to feedback. Of course, we talked about something Disney that's also a musical. So we got quite a bit of feedback from Shalane. So let's jump right into it. She says, the movies I've seen Maggie Smith in are Romeo and Juliet, The Secret Garden, Hook, Downton Abbey, and of course, Harry Potter. The only movie I've seen Chris Christopherson in is A Star is Born with Barbra Streisand. I've seen all 4 Star is Born movies with Janet Gaynor, Judy Garland, Barbra Streisand, and Lady Gaga. Fun fact, the first 2 A Star is Born movies are about becoming movie stars, while the last 2 are about becoming famous singers. Now, let's talk about The Lion King. Here's something I figured out that I've been saving for you girls. The original Lion King came out in 1994. 10 years later, we got The Lion King, 1.5. Then, 25 years later, we got the live-action Lion King directed by Jon Favreau, who did an amazing job. And now, 30 years later, we're getting an origin story about Mufasa. I've always loved The Lion King growing up. I really enjoyed The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, and I love The Lion King 1.5 and the Timon and Pumbaa TV show. I also love the live-action movie. My siblings and I had the Super Nintendo Lion King game, though I never made it all the way through, but it was fun to play. I also have the Game Boy Lion King 1.5 game, and I still love it. I've yet to see The Lion King on Broadway. Me too. The only Lion King stage musicals I have seen are The Little Mermaid, Tarzan, Newsies, Mary Poppins, Beauty and the Beast, Frozen, When You Wish Upon a Star, which is a small musical at the theater I work at. Next up is Freaky Friday, which my old high school is doing next month. Cool. I still need to see Aladdin and The Lion King, but I did catch a small performance of The Lion King at Walt Disney World's Animal Kingdom. Very nice. I have seen Beauty and the Beast and Frozen on stage, the full stage musicals. So
I've seen Mary Poppins.
yeah, I need to fix that. It's all about access. The first Lion King movie is an adaptation of Hamlet, kind of, and The Lion King 2 is based on Romeo and Juliet. Again, kind of. Shakespeare is easy to just pull just little influences from. There are 2 spin-off TV series from The Lion King, Timon and Pumbaa, The Lion Guard, about Simba's son, set during The Lion King 2. I tried to tell my siblings that The Lion Guard is a spin-off because my niece and nephew were watching it, but they didn't believe me at first. I was right, though. It's definitely a spin-off. Yes, you're correct. James Earl Jones voices Mufasa in The Lion Guard. At one point, Mufasa tells Simba's son, "I am your grandfather."
Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
All the kids are like, "Why are mom and dad laughing? I don't get it."
Just you wait. You wait.
Yeah.
You'll find out soon enough.
Yeah.
If mom and dad are raising you right by letting you watch this, yeah, you'll find out pretty darn quick.
Yep. If your parents are any sort of decent parents,
decent Spanish parents.
Yes. There are still 2 Disney Renaissance movies we haven't covered yet that are celebrating anniversaries this year: The Little Mermaid and Tarzan. One of those we were going to do, and then the schedule got a little wonky, a little kerfuffled. So it's on the list. So
it's on the list. Yes,
both are on the list. Pretty much all Disney movies are on the list. To have the Disney logo on it. Yes.
Shalane, it's not if, it's just when.
Exactly. I thought Elton John did an amazing job with the music for the live-action Lion King, along with Tim Rice. They both did great work for the Broadway version as well. Now I finally share my thoughts on Lion King. I'll wait patiently to share what I figured out about The Wizard of Oz when we get to that. That is also coming. Probably sooner than some of the others. Something else I figured out about The Lion King. 5 years ago, we got the live-action Lion King, and around the same time, we also got a movie adaptation of the musical Cats. Now we're getting an origin story about Mufasa, and coincidentally, another musical movie adaptation, Wicked. Wicked was actually supposed to come out 5 years ago, but Cats took its place because Wicked didn't have a cast or director back then. Now Wicked is finally being released, and thankfully, it's not Cats. Yes, I think the production quality for Wicked is going to be much higher than Cats. At least we can give it that.
Let's just say if we could jump into TARDIS and then just kind of get rid of Cats like they accidentally did with some of the Doctor Who episodes, and we could have saved those. That would have been nice,
well,
you know?
Yeah, that's true. I will give you that.
Yeah. And, you know, if we had them even
Cats
with
had
the
to
button,
happen so that Wicked could fly.
that's true. Yeah, no, but you know the button pushy thing. Go back in time. What to get rid of? What to get rid of?
Yeah.
Doctor Who episodes. Cats.
Yes, that's true.
Cats movie.
Yeah. I will grant you that.
Yeah.
Another fun fact, Wicked is set to be released on the same day as Gladiator 2, November 22nd. People are already joking this could be this year's version of Barbieheimer, referring to the Barbie Oppenheimer double feature phenomenon. Some people are even calling it Glicked. I hate that. Personally, I'm planning on doing a double feature with Moana 2 with my best friend. We've got Wicked costumes ready to wear when we go see Wicked. I like that decision much better.
Much better, yeah.
I had to sit through Gladiator 1 because it won freaking Best
Gold
Picture.
Standard,
and
right, yeah.
Gold Standard. But did I want to? No. I did not have a choice if I wanted to participate in that particular episode, and therefore I suffered through it. Does that mean I'm going to go see the sequel? Hell no.
Not unless it gets nominated and it happens to win.
Yes. That is the only reason I will see Gladiator 2 is if it somehow wins Best Picture, which I highly doubt. So I'm not holding my breath.
Because usually the Academy does not usually nominate sequels.
With some exceptions.
Right, but if this one happens, it would be like, are you feeling all right?
Yeah. Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Shalane.
Yes,
for
thank you.
Your feedback. But this week we are going to talk about a little movie that didn't do so well when it was originally released. In a sense, gone on to gain a little bit of cult status. Even in the spectrum of cult status, you've got like your Rocky Horror Princess Bride fans like over here, the very strong cult fandoms. And then at the other hand, you have like your more obscure, and this is probably somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
That being said, this particular movie was a trailblazer when it came to computer generated special effects. Again, this walked so other movies could fly. Or run.
Yes, exactly.
So we are talking about the now 40-year-old Universal science fiction film, The Last Starfighter.
I was about 4 or 5 when this came out.
I was 1.
Thanks for the
So,
reminder.
yeah.
I wasn't even born yet.
I was one. So I did not actually see this until several years ago when Chauncey's like, "Oh, you got to see this because this is one of those movies that he had in his collection." So we got brought into the marriage,
Mhm.
and there's still a whole bunch in his collection that I've yet to watch. But he's like, "You should watch this," because it's cheesy '80s sci-fi. I mean, the plot is very predictable. Uh, there's nothing really surprising in here. Um, the special effects unfortunately have not aged well. But again, this was a pioneer, so somebody had to be first.
And it was high
Uh,
tech, top of the line
at the
back
time,
then. Yes.
yes. Um, so yeah, we sat down so that I could watch it several years ago, and since then it's just been one of those where it's like, it's just a fun, like, if you want something that's like kind of Star Wars meets Tron meets like Flash Gordon esque,
Meets Black
but
Hole.
not, yeah, but it's not that like war games.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's
Right,
not
you're
that
right. That's
serious.
exactly what I was listing in my head.
Yeah,
You're getting
but
all
it's
the bullet
also,
points.
yeah, it's also not that, but it doesn't take itself too seriously.
No, it doesn't.
This is like, this is
No.
great. This is one of those that's like have on the background while you're folding laundry type movies.
Right. And I mean, you can
Uh,
kind of tell where they cherry pick stuff. Like, okay, yeah, they picked that one from Star Wars because he's complaining about stuff. Then you have
mhm,
this guy who's kind of like the Obi-Wan. Then we got this.
mhm. Yeah, yeah, and it's. I mean, at the time, the time period. I mean, the cast probably mostly relatively unknowns, either because
Yeah.
this was their first movie, or you're talking about older actors who had kind of gone to the wayside and weren't maybe that recognizable to this generation. Um, but yeah, you've got Lance Guest, who's our hero, Alex,
Mhm.
who has gone on to have a decent
Career.
career. He's done bits and pieces in other films. He's in Halloween 2. He's in Jaws: The Revenge. He portrayed Johnny Cash in Million Dollar Quartet, which is really cool, both on and off Broadway. Uh, so he's done a bunch of like guest stars on a lot of 80s, 90s TV shows, Saint Elsewhere, Jag, The X Files, that sort of thing. You have uh, Catherine Mary Stewart, who plays his girlfriend, Maggie. She's also in Night of the Comet and Weekend at Bernie's. She's also the original Kayla Brady on Days of Our Lives. Uh, again, cut your teeth on. You're an American. Soap operas.
Yep.
Uh, you have Alex and Maggie live in a trailer park, where Alex lives with his mom and his mom Jane, played by Barbara Boson, and then his younger brother Lewis, played by Chris Herbert, who is a very grown up little kid.
Yeah, little stinker is what he is.
Yeah, very, very much. And you got your kid. He lives in like BFE, seemingly middle of nowhere. It's not specified like what even state they're in. It
Right.
doesn't really matter, I don't think. Um, and he is, presumably about 18-ish, and he's wanting to go to college, but not like the city college, like the community college. He wants to go off to like a big college somewhere and make a life for himself, get out of his podunk little hole in the part of the world. and but he just can't seem to get a break. He spends all of his time helping out all the different characters that live at this live at this trailer park. You got
Yeah.
Otis, who's kind of the manager of like the shop, convenience store slash whatever of the trailer park. I guess that's presumably where people can buy like small groceries and stuff. Which honestly, I think Otis knows a lot more than I think that than he puts on.
I get a little bit of black vibe there too.
It's a very you get a little bit of like wise black guy, token black guy character. But yeah, whatever. You've got Granny, who is Maggie's grandma, who likes to garden, apparently listen to hip music on her cassette Walkman. You've got
and then the one neighbor lady whose electricity goes out, and heaven
Elvira, her electricity goes out, and she's gonna miss her soaps, and that means meltdown.
Yes.
You got the Boons,
Christmas gift generator.
Yeah. You got the Boons, you've got also you've got the a number of kids that presumably go to the same high school but don't live there, that are friends with Maggie, not necessarily friends with Alex.
Oh no, and jerks to
but
Alex.
They put up with him because they like to hang out with Maggie because Maggie's cool. So like which is like Ryan and Andy and Gary, and it's just your kids, you're kind of punk teenagers that you'd expect. You blink and miss them at one point. Lewis is shown to be has a friend about his age. It's a blink and you miss. That is a very young Will Wheaton.
I thought that face looked familiar.
Yeah. But you almost don't know, because he only appears in like one scene. So it's very much play, and I don't think he has any lines. So wait a minute, that voice, because obviously this is pre Stand By Me. But then when he's not busy playing handyman or trying to avoid the jerk teenagers of the area, Alex spends his time playing The Last Starfighter, which is a stand-up arcade game that sits outside the convenience store of their little trailer park. And apparently this tells you just how like podunk this place is. One evening, when Alex is especially frustrated because he's been working all day and didn't get to go to the beach with Maggie, he is about to break the record for the highest score in the video game, and that means everybody who's home at that moment in the trailer park has to come watch, because apparently that is the most exciting thing that has happened in a long time.
And I'm just thinking, oh crap, they're gonna make some horrible noise while he's doing this, and he's gonna blow it, and he's not gonna get it, but heaven forbid. Nope, it's okay.
Yes, nope, it's okay.
He makes it.
Yeah,
he makes it.
He does, and everybody's like, oh, this is the greatest thing since sliced cheese. And that's all that everybody talks about for the rest of the night, is that Alex has got the new high score on the Last Starfighter game. Which, yay. But it's just kind of funny how everybody, like Otis is all like, Alex is about to get the high score, and everybody's like getting up in the middle of whatever it is they're doing. And old guys are playing card games, and Elvira's watching her TV. She's not got the electricity working, and Granny's hanging up laundry on the line, and they all drop what they're doing just so they can watch Alex beat the high score. But as we find out that beating the high score, and this is a nod to the inspiration of this movie, because the uh, screenwriter John Butel came from when he was, growing up in the 80s. Obviously, he's a little older, young adult in the 80s. And he had wandered into an arcade and saw a young boy playing a game, a game in the arcade. And at the same time, he was reading this book called The Once and Future King by T.H. White, which is a book about King Arthur. And he got this idea of, what if playing a video game was the equivalent of the Sword and the Stone? And whoever got the highest score was the equivalent of pulling the sword out of the stone, which meant they were like the one needed to go on a legendary quest. And so that's where the idea came from. But also at the same time, Tron also came out the same year. So, but that's just coincidence. That you're talking about, real life and video games coming together. But in this case, it's not someone being pulled into a video game. It's the video game actually being the basis for something that's happening in real life, which is what Alex finds out when he's later feeling sorry for himself. And suddenly this DeLorean type car, which, in 1984, people had no idea that cars with the gull wings, were going to be a very exciting thing to see out and about, because we're still a year out from Back to the Future.
Mm-hmm.
But people, the DeLorean was a car, was a vehicle out there. Some people knew of it. It just wasn't popular. So it is somewhat inspired by DeLorean. It's just the DeLorean was not popular yet. But when this wild DeLorean type car shows up and he meets this guy named Centauri, played by Robert Preston of the music, which I love that this is Robert Preston.
Mm-hmm.
This was Robert's last film role, by the way, before he passed. But when they got the bright idea that Robert Preston might be good for this role, and then when he got hired, they actually tweaked the script to fit Robert's way of talking, because kind of like Centauri is a bit of a fast talker. He's not necessarily a con man like Robert Hill, but he's very much it seems like he's only looking out for himself. Of course, we learn along the way that he's not, if it pays off for him, great. But he is truly wanting to save
the planet.
The planet and these people. But yeah, so they tweak the script to fit Robert Preston's kind of speaking style, to fit more of kind of the Harold Hill, and it very much is. It's and like this is as if Professor Harold Hill was a con man in space and drove a DeLorean.
Yeah, and I was kind of getting the feeling too, if they couldn't have casted him, I was thinking Dean Stockwell.
Oh,
would have been another good choice, just from the pacing and the way he talked.
Yeah,
I could see Dean Stockwell in this.
Yeah, I could too. So he meets Centauri. Centauri essentially kidnaps him, and he finds out that the premise of the video game, when you first start playing the game, it says you have been recruited by the Star League to defend the frontier against Zur and the Kodan Armada. And we find out that actually the frontier actually is an actual thing, full of real life humanoid type people, and they are being attacked by Zur and the Kodan Armada. and they have this group of essentially fighter pilots, um, a la kind of Star Wars, except it's you have a pilot and then a gunner, and the gunners are called starfighters, and they're not doing so well against the Armada, so therefore they need lots of recruits. And Century got this idea to plant create the video game, have it sent out, and those that did well on the video game essentially were proving themselves that they might be a halfway decent actual starfighter. And this is how Alex ended up here. But the whole Alex gets in like the car, and like the entire time, it's like first they're driving down the road really fast, and then they take off, and then they're in outer space, and then they're docking with the space, the space station and everything, and he's just like taking it all in, and the only thing he has to say for himself is there's a logical explanation for this. Like he's like he doesn't have like 5 minutes. I mean, it was not till they actually start setting him through processing that he starts asking questions. And of course, nobody speaks English except for Centuri. That's when he starts asking questions. Like, and then he's like, "No, I don't want to do this." It's like I might die. And so Centuri's like, "Okay, fine, I'll take you home." And in the process of him taking Alex home, all the other starfighters get killed, which leaves one ship and one pilot, which is Grig, who has a lovely Grig wife and 6,000 Griglings back home. Or at least he did before they got captured to be slaves by the by the by the bad guys. The Codon. Also turns out that Zur is the son of the president of the Frontier. His family has gone AWOL. Oh goodness. But as like I said, the plot very predictable. Very much this is very much the kind of the cliche hero's journey, like what we talked about with Doug, several episodes ago, where it's like you got the hero, he's got the call to duty, he's reluctant,
right?
Even though he wants more for his life, he's finally given the opportunity, and he turns tail. And then realizes that this thing is bigger than him when one of the bad guys, one of their kind of assassins, shows up on Earth and tries to kill him and the robot unit that's taken his place, and his little brother. And so he goes back, and you get the quote unquote death of the mentor, with Centuri taking a shot for him, and then he gets in the ship with Grig. I don't call him Grig. And they realize that it's them against the entire Armada, and they manage to take out the turret, but then realize that they've got more, and they think that they're just SOL. And at the last second, Alex gets an idea about how to be sneaky, and of course it works, using the doomsday device essentially. The strongest weapon they have, but it can only be used once, and they defeat the bad guys, and he gets all the praise from the president and the survivors, and they're like, "Hey, would you like to stay and help us rebuild?" And Zur, he got away, and he's like, "Sure." So he goes back home, and his family finds out that aliens exist, and all the people at the trailer park learn that aliens exist, which that feeds into so many stereotypes.
Yeah.
Right there. And he asks Maggie to go with him. She's reluctant. But then she finally is like, okay, I'm gonna go. And so they take off to be together so she can be by his side while he helps rebuild the frontier and hunt down Zer, while his little brother goes to play the Last Starfighter game to work on himself to make, hopefully eventually be worthy enough to join his brother. And there were supposed to be 2 more movies. This was supposed to be a trilogy, but obviously that never happened. But like I said, plot very predictable. That being said, it's still fun.
Oh, yeah.
The special effects not aged well, especially the CGI, I should say. But that's also what makes this movie notable, is its use of special effects, specifically computer generated effects. Because the the whole idea was, first of all, they shot the film in 38 days, which is fast for like a sci-fi film with this many special effects. But it is one of the earliest films to make use of CGI, heavy CGI, I should say, as opposed to physical models, very much like Star Wars did. Because that's the thing with Star Wars, is why Star Wars, the OG Star Wars, especially the episode 4, A New Hope, has aged so well, despite the series where George tweaked with him when he shouldn't have. Aside from those versions, the George Lucasized versions, it is aged pretty well because it uses a lot of practical effects. It uses a lot of models, a lot of physical props, a lot of prosthetics for makeup for all the creatures and stuff. And they would do things like shoot like at the X-wing models and then composite them in, but you are still using actual real life stuff, items. But they wanted to, the people making this movie are all like, we really want to use CGI. So they brought in this company called Digital Productions, and at one point one of the guys sat down with like the producer and the director and was like, okay, how many scenes or how many shots, because they go by shots, how many shots are you gonna need? And they were like, this many. They're like, okay. And with the current technology, how many frames? And they're like, this many. Like, okay, how many polygons? And they're like, well, probably this many. And he was like, okay, based on the current power we have, with as many shots as you want, it's going to take you 17 years to do the special effects for this movie.
Ouch. Ouch, 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 ouch,
And they're like,
ouch.
yeah. And they're like, oh,
pass. What's option B and C, please?
yeah. And he was like, I've got people that can do practical effects, a la ILM. I can call these people up and be ready to go if you want. And they're like, no, we'll just dumb down. We'll just simplify the shots that we want to make them less complicated. That was their plan. So, so that's why some of these shots, it's like you have like 2 CGI objects in a frame, in a scene. So.
It would be interesting to see for like maybe 10 years down the road for anniversary.
Yeah.
Like, they don't go back and, like, here's what we originally intended, and have two versions, the original and then
Yeah.
this is what we want with now that we have the technology
I
to be
mean,
able to do
the
it.
movie is only 101 minutes long.
Right.
There are 27 minutes of effects.
Right.
That's a lot,
Yeah.
especially for 1984. Yeah. There's 300 scenes containing some sort of computer graphic. Each frame contains an average of 250,000 polygons, which a polygon is, if you take like an object like a 20-sided die,
Mm-hmm.
each side of the die is a polygon. So a 20-sided die is essentially 20 polygons.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the more polygons you add, the more detail you can add. That's why, like, if you look at like early Pokemon
Mm-hmm.
or
Yeah.
early computer illustrations where it's very blocky,
Mm-hmm.
it's because
8-bit.
they because they could only do so many polygons and be so detailed before a computer could not handle it and make it move smoothly. It would be very robotic like. So the less polygons you have, the less complicated it is, especially when we're talking early computers. Can you tell I took some 3D modeling courses in college? This is part of what I
Yes.
went to college for.
Mhm.
Nowadays, you take something like, I don't know, like Smaug from The
Uh-huh.
Hobbit, and he's going to be like probably millions of polygons. But he doesn't look like it. He's not blocky. He looks like a dragon, and he moves like what you'd expect maybe a giant flying fire breathing dragon would move like, a giant lizard. So
Thank you, Benedict Cumberbatch.
yeah, some of that helps, and it is also mocap, but still, you
Mhm.
gotta map the 3D modeled object onto the mocap data. So it doesn't matter how smoothly Benedict Cumberbatch can move if the computer can't make the model of Smaug move like that. It doesn't matter. Um, so, but yeah. So the digital productions estimated that computer animation uh would require um half of the time half of the allotted time to if they have to make this movie, not just the shooting, obviously. Um and a third to half of the cost. uh it would traditional special effects, it would take less time and less money, but the special effects still cost them $14 million, and the movie only made $29 million at the box office. So uh but that being said, they made how they ended up making it work is by doing, because a lot of times some of um the like computer generated stuff is done after filming because they need those shots to work with, because they're like, oh, the character's standing here, so if they're looking this direction, then our CGI object or whatever is going to be facing this direction, you're going to see this side of it, that sort of thing. But because they were on a crunch, what they'd end up doing is they would have people teaching people how to do the 3D modeling and the compositing and all the 3D stuff, and doing that at the same time they're filming. So they kind of had to cross their fingers and hope that what the special effects the CGI guys were making would work with what the live action crew was filming, and hope that when they pushed it all together that they got something that looked relatively right. That's not how you really want to do something that's very heavy special effects, really, heavy, especially CGI heavy, because you want to be able to test things and make sure it looks right. In this case, it was just like, just make the spaceships and go ahead and render them out and color them and light them, and we'll just cross our fingers, and that's kind of essentially what they did. So yeah, but that was unheard of at the time for filmmaking. So now we don't think twice about having a crap ton of special effects, CGI in a film, because most of the time it's seamless enough that even though we logically know that that the Hulk is not real, we're like, oh yeah, the Hulk is totally there fighting alongside Captain America, who we know Chris Evans was actually there in the suit with the shield. Meanwhile, Mark Ruffalo is running around the mocap suit. So, even though logically we know that the fake stuff was not actually there in the film, that it's seamless enough that we just we can suspend our disbelief. It's when it's very obvious that you got CGI against live action that kind of breaks reality, I think, for a lot of people. And that happens especially when either one, the CGI is not that good to begin with, which I'm sure at the time people thought this looked really good. Obviously 40 years later we're like, this has not aged well. But at the time I'm sure people are like, this is amazing. But like I said, this was unheard of at the time, but now we've got movies that are extremely CGI heavy and we don't even bat an eye at it. Except when they do stupid CGI, like CGIing Henry Cavill's mustache away, which, why? I think they just did it because they thought they could. It's very much Ian Malcolm, Jurassic Park. Like, just because you could doesn't mean you should. Like, let Henry shave the damn mustache and then put a fake mustache on him for Mission Impossible. It's so much easier to put fake facial hair on somebody than CGI Henry Cavill's upper lip,
Right?
But yeah, if you have because the DVD version that we have is like a special edition, and it's got a whole behind the scenes making of, that's like a half an hour long documentary type thing. They go into way more detail explaining about like the special effects and all that stuff, and it's quite interesting, knowing where we are now versus then technology wise. And obviously even just like the few years after they did their movie, you can see how quickly the CGI technology evolved, because we get Tron like the next year, and in less than a decade we're gonna get Jurassic Park. We're gonna get Pixar's gonna start releasing feature films. We're gonna get Toy Story, and it's just so it takes off from there. So that being said, it did not do well, like I said. As far as the box office goes, $29 million essentially, on a budget of 15, and most of that was the CGI. So oh my. And they were also aware that there could potentially be comparisons to Star Wars, so they also wanted to make sure that the plot was not just like, oh, this is just Star Wars, just slightly different.
Well, and plus, he didn't probably want to tick off Lucasfilms and have a cease and desist on their hands.
That too, that too. Yeah, you don't mess with Lucas.
No.
Yeah,
that in the house, the mouse.
Yeah, I mean, it is, as I stated, it is very predictable. The plot, it is not deep by any means. It's not really metaphorical like Star Wars can. It's not anything necessarily groundbreaking as far as storytelling is concerned. But it's just fun. It's as I said, it's cult, but not as culty. It's got like a 76% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with an average rating of 6.5 out of 10. There's one that it says the website's critical consensus reads: while The Last Starfighter is clearly derivative of other sci-fi franchises, its boundary-pushing visual effects and lovably plucky tone make it for an appealing adventure. That is a good description. Plucky. Lovably plucky. No, I mean, Roger Ebert gave it 2.5 out of 4 stars. Mostly because it's not original, but it's well made.
Mm-hmm.
It does have a few moments where it's like, I think they tried to make it different enough with especially with some of the side characters. Like I said, Lewis, Alex's little brother, has a foul language, and apparently also has quite the collection of Playboys.
Yes, that he was very close to getting ratted out to mom about.
Right. Well, and I will have this linked in the show notes, but they recently had a 40th anniversary panel at RetroCon with Lance and Catherine, so Alex and Maggie, and somebody asked with the scene with the Playboys, what was he looking at? He was actually looking at Playboys.
Oh wow!
So yeah, that would not pass muster now.
Ooh, no.
In the 80s, they were just like, he doesn't know what he's looking at, really. So,
you sure about that?
Yeah, that's what they were going with at the time.
Yeah.
And I haven't had a chance to watch the entire panel yet, but they're definitely based on the amount of questions coming from the crowd, is there's a good enough cult following, enough that it has some expanded universe. There was a musical adaptation that ran off Broadway in 2004. And actually at one point Lance happened to be in town the same time that it was performing, so he showed up and was all like, hey, can I join in? Yeah.
Why not? Sure.
Yeah, because he was in town doing $1 Million Quartet.
Cool.
Yeah. So
you know how to sing, no problem.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll find you a spot.
Yeah. But at this point, the musical has not gone anywhere else. 20 years. There's a novelization that was released shortly after its original release. The same year that the film was released, Marvel Comics published a comic book adaptation of the film in Marvel Super Special number 31. There a tabletop game called the Last Starfighter Tunnel Chase. There was the real Last Starfighter arcade game made by Atari. Or it was promised by Atari, never released it. Don't trust Atari.
I think they were having some issues at that
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Because the thing is that when we see the video game being played, that is just stuff that they made up for the movie. There was not like the actual arcade did not actually do anything. It was just a giant prop. And the stuff that they showed on the screen was just like
All
stuff that had been
generated.
that had just been made and was shown on the screen of the arcade machine. So they were also going to develop some versions for the Atari 2600 and 5200, but were never commercially released. At least under the Last Starfighter name. The home computer version was eventually renamed and released as Star Raiders 2. A prototype exists for the Atari 2600, and but was actually a game already in development by Atari called Universe, and was eventually released as Solaris. NES in 1990 released a game titled The Last Starfighter. Was actually a conversion of Iridium for the Commodore 64. A freeware playable version based on what is seen from the film was released for PC in 2007. And the creators of that have also built a working arcade cabinet, but it's not something that's become commercially available. So, and then of course the sequels that we never got because this was intended to be the part of a trilogy. They hoped. At one point in 2008, a production company said that they were working on a sequel, but it was stuck in the pre-production phase. Last they checked in 2012, it was still there. People like Steven Spielberg and Seth Rogen have been attached to it. And even Jonathan Betuel. But Jonathan Betuel, who wrote the original, does not want another one made. Part of the problem is the rights are not clearly defined when it comes to legality. Some people say Universal owns the theatrical and home media distribution rights, while Warner Brothers, which absorbed Lorimar Telepictures in 1990, has the international distribution rights. Another source states that Universal has the option to remake the film, while Betuel has sequel rights. Meanwhile, there's another claim that both Universal and Warner Brothers each have remake and sequel rights.
This sounds about as bad and confusing as the Doctor Who the movie.
I know.
Right?
As of 2015, it was reported that Betuel was going to write a TV reboot. Obviously, that never happened. In 2018, screenwriter Gary Whitta posted concept art for a sequel on his Twitter account, and indicated that Betuel was going to collaborate with him. In a follow-up interview with Gizmodo, Whitta referred to the project as, quote, a combination of reboot and sequel that we think honors the legacy of the original film when passing the torch to a new generation. In 2020, Betuel stated that with Whitta, a script for the sequel is being written and the rights to the film were recaptured. And in 2021, Whitta posted a sequel concept reel on YouTube called The Last Starfighters with concept art. And that's kind of where we're at as far as any potential sequels, reboots, remakes, prequels, whatever. So
TBD. Keep checking, but
yeah.
don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is that 2020 statement, it just says the rights of the film were recaptured, but they didn't I have not seen anything that specifies which rights exactly.
Right, yeah. Are they
As far
just
as like sequel rights, remake rights, distribution rights,
and under which umbrella? Who is it? The Loamar? Is it the
Mm-hmm.
Which one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and at this point, like, obviously, we still have Lance and Catherine are still around. Obviously, Robert Preston has long passed. A number of the cast has passed on. Barbara Boson, who plays Alex's mother, she passed last year on my birthday. She passed on my 40th birthday. Thanks a lot, Barbara. No, it's fine. Kay Cutter, who plays the ambassador, has passed. Norman Snow, who plays Zur, has passed. Dan O'Hearley, who played Greg, he's passed. So it's like a lot of our, like, Chris Herbert, who plays Lewis, he's still with us. Granted, he's 51 now. So, but whatever. Considering Lance is 64, Catherine is 65. Not that she really looks it, but we can have Will Wheaton come back. Give him more to do this time. But yeah, I mean, most of our, a good chunk of the cast is gone. Obviously, if we're talking, our creatures and stuff, those could be anybody, for the most part. And that doesn't mean that we couldn't introduce other, characters of different species or same species that we've already seen. It's been 40 years, which that's a lot. I mean, we've seen some long time in between movies, but even then, that's kind of a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyway, so I know, Brittany, you haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Hopefully, we've enticed you a little.
Yeah.
With this. Holly, I don't remember if you said you'd seen this before or not.
Yes, I've seen this before. I have vague memories of when it came out on videotape for rental. Dad renting it a few times, and I can remember sitting and watching it. So yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or on one of the cable channels when it was on. I can remember watching it, yeah.
Yeah, I'd never even heard of it until Chauncey's like, "Hey, we should watch this." And I'm like, "Okay."
And I mean, and it's got a good score.
Yeah, it does.
I mean, it's distinctive. I mean, it's not John Williams, but when you hear it, it's
Last
very Starfighter.
Yeah, it's very space opera-esque.
Yes.
It is. It's not a very complicated
it's memorable
score. They essentially kind of use the same tune, just in different variations depending on the scene. So, like, you get the faster, more up tempo version for like the space battles. There's a slower version for, like, the more romantic scenes between Alex and Maggie. But yeah, it is very like, Star Wars-esque. It's got a lot of brass, so it's very military like. So yeah, it's definitely memorable. When you hear it, you're like, a Starfighter. Let's see if there's anything else interesting.
Well, you're kind of scrolling through that. I highly suggest, if you can find yourself a copy, find it streaming, rent it. it's worth the watch. Like you said, it's kind of the background folding, but hey, I mean, give it a chance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, especially if you like the stuff that Rachel was rattling off at the top, that it has this, and this, you know, go for it. It's probably right up your alley.
Yeah.
Because when I saw you had this on the listener schedule, it's like, man, I haven't sat and watched that in, a while. It's like, it's time for a rewatch.
Yeah. So everyone says that Robert Preston was absolutely fabulous to work with. So, which is good to hear. Not really a whole lot because, like I said, it was made so quickly, and it ended up not doing that well. So I think not necessarily a lot has been said until more recently. Like I said, there's the behind the scenes documentary on a version, one of the DVDs. I don't know how many DVD releases there are, but and there's an introduction by Lance that is probably from like 10 years ago, would be my guess. But all the behind the scenes stuff is from like at the time of filming. They were probably filming this documentary or not long after. So the time period of when that was filmed and now, I think it's slowly building up, especially now that we're in the 40th anniversary year. Like I said, there was the panel at a fan convention. So, but yeah, there's not really a whole lot of kind of behind the scenes kind of trivia, really, just because I don't think people were necessarily keeping track of that kind of stuff because it probably wasn't notable enough for people to write notable things down. I think at least that's my assumption. Yeah, I could be wrong, but yeah, it's still fun. It's like I said, it's cute. Definitely not anything necessarily groundbreaking as far as storytelling, but it was definitely it ran or it walked so some other movies could run as far as CGI is concerned. So yeah, definitely if you can, if you catch it. I don't know if this is something gets shown on TV or not. This seems like something that would make a good we need something to fill in like a 2-hour slot on a random Saturday or Sunday.
Yeah, I knew it used to make the rounds, but it's not very often.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily streaming anywhere unless you want to rent it. Obviously I have the DVD, so I don't have to pay anything. But yeah, it's fun. I like it. Hopefully those that have not seen it yet, maybe you're like, I think I've heard of this. I should give it a shot. You can thank us later. All right. Anybody have anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, if any of our listeners want to chime in about The Last Starfighter or CGI movies or anything of that ilk, maybe there's some other cheesy, space type movies out there that maybe are maybe a bit more obscure that we should take a look at.
That are under our radar, yes. Please let us know.
That are under our radar. Yeah, you can send us feedback, much like Shalane did. You can email us, fiveishfangirls@gmail.com. Or you can go to our website, which is the fivishfangirls.com, where you can connect with all of our various podcast-related social media accounts and our individual ones as well. There's also the link to the book club on Goodreads. So all previous discussions remain open. So if you haven't quite finished September yet, don't worry, it's still there for you. October, you can come in late. That's fine. Go vote for November. That's really scary to say. This like the second to last poll for the year.
Yeah.
Ah!
Yeah,
Oh my
no
goodness.
kidding.
When you say it like that is really scary.
Wasn't January not all that long ago?
I know. Like, didn't I just have a birthday? No.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Chauncey's birthday is coming up in 13 days as we're recording this. If y'all think about it on the 20th, you tweet
Gotcha.
or whatever
Yep.
social media Chauncey still uses. Wish him a happy birthday. He's turning the big 4-0.
Good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. Yeah. Goodreads Book Club, also on our website, are ways to financially support us if you're so inclined. Ko-Fi, merch on Redbubble, Patreon, all of those fun things. We appreciate all your support, financial and otherwise. Everything, every little bit of good vibes helps. And heads up, there will be no show next week. This is planned, so this is not like last minute. Like sorry, no show. This is planned. Speaking of birthdays, I'm finally getting to cash in my very belated 40th anniversary or 40th anniversary. I guess it's 40th anniversary of my birth. 40th birthday. Yeah, I'm thinking our anniversary because it's like November, December. It's also coming up very quickly. So very belated 40th birthday present for me, and also celebrating Chauncey's 40th birthday a little early. We're headed to Las Vegas. Finally. So I am taking a much needed vacation where I'm not beholden to friends, family, or anything. Chauncey and I are going to go and just do whatever the hell we want in Las Vegas for a few days. Assuming that I don't melt, because as of right now, they're still in triple digits in Las Vegas. Although looking at the longer ahead forecast, we might be down into the 80s by the time I get there.
A little more manageable, but still.
Yeah.
Warm.
I was like, hey, Vegas in October, it shouldn't be that bad. No. During last time I was in Vegas, it was in August. So, I thought that maybe there might be a slight difference. Just a little. I think it's going to be just a little bit of a difference. So, but anyway, yes, Vegas. I'll post pictures. Follow me on social media. And I'll tell you all about when I get back. That's the thing too. Make sure you're following on my social medias and on ours, because I'm going to Vegas and then come back, have a little bit of a respite, and then I am going to be at Cincinnati, their comic convention that weekend. So yeah. So I will be posting from Cincinnati Comic Expo as well, which should be lots of fun. So because it's a fun little convention, and right now the guest list is pretty exciting. I mean, it's not GalaxyCon because they don't have Weird Al, but still. Oh, that's a bit of news I forgot to add. Speaking of GalaxyCon, as if like Weird Al is still like the most exciting thing, but they've also added John Cleese.
Nice.
So yeah, that's exciting. But anyway, Cincinnati Comic Expo. As of right now, hoping that none of these people cancel. But I will be able to add to my map of Middle Earth because David Wenham, aka the lesser beloved son of Denethor,
Uh-huh.
Lord Denethor, steward of Gondor, is going to be there, along with John Rhys Davies. Gimli
Nice.
is going to be there, which is exciting. And then Ming Na Wen is also going to be there.
Yay.
So, yeah, that's exciting.
Yes.
So, Agent May, among other things. I mean, she does have the Disney trifecta:
Yes.
Marvel, Star Wars, Disney princess. So, yeah, Agents of Shield.
Uh-huh. Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
She's not Coulson, but
Nope.
I'm getting closer.
Yes. I mean, hey,
slowly but
May,
surely,
You're getting
I'm
there.
working through the Agents of Shield until eventually I'm going to get to Coulson himself. So
You're getting there, I think.
yes, I mean, even if I have to tell Ming Na Wen, like next time you talk to Clark, tell him he needs to get his ass somewhere here in the Midwest and stop going to conventions like the one he's getting ready to go to in like freaking Hamburg or something. Yeah, those of us in the Midwest want to see him too. So I'm just saying. But anyway, so yeah, Vegas, Cincinnati Comic Expo, social medias, all the things. Again, assuming I don't melt while in Vegas. So, and I'll be back to tell you all about it the following episode after.
Yes.
So, but until then, obviously, we've got quite the backlog for you to listen to. I am trying to work on the backlog of convention footage that I have sitting on my computer. So hopefully I will have some of that up for y'all to watch in the meantime. And then obviously, keep up on all the things. Go join the book club discussion. If you're not caught up in Only Murders in the Building, you might want to do that too, because we might be discussing the season once it finishes at the end of the month. I'm just saying.
Yep.
So,
Thank you for
stuff
reminding
to
me. I
talk
forgot I
about.
was a couple episodes behind.
Yeah, there
I
you
had to
go.
play catch up. Yep.
So yeah, there's still plenty to keep us entertained while we are off. Y'all entertained while we're off for a week. So, all right. Unless anyone has anything else, we shall sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Bango saying goodnight.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
This is Rachel in Indianapolis. Ooh, he's quick. He's quick. He's very quick. He's speechless. So long, Alex. Have fun. May the luck of the 7 pillars of Hulu be with you at all times. Thank you, our Fiveish fam, for joining us on this week's geeky journey. If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Stay connected with us on our website, theFivishFangirls.com, and follow us on most social media with @FivishFangirls. Plus, check out our nonprofit, Fangirls Give Back, to see how we're making a positive impact in our community. Until next time, stay nerdy and let the squee continue.